The pharmacy bag had 3 lollipops in it. I don't know why they were there. I had only picked up blood pressure pills and a bottle of eye drops. But when I got back to the car and looked inside the white paper bag, there they were, 3 small red lollipops, the kind they give children when they behave at the doctor. I sat in the parking lot with the rain running down the windshield, holding those lollipops like they belonged to somebody, and for some reason I thought of my children, not as adults, not as the people who stopped calling. I saw them small again, sitting in the back seat, sticky hands, arguing over who got the window. That should have made me smile. It didn't, because my phone was sitting beside me, face down, and I already knew no one had called. My name is Harold Bennett. I'm 83 years old, and for a long time I told myself my children stopped calling because they were busy. Jobs, kids, bills, life. That's what old parents say when they don't want to say the other thing. They chose peace over me. I didn't understand that yet, sitting there outside the pharmacy. I just put the lollipops in my coat pocket and drove home slower than I needed to. My oldest boy Daniel used to call every Sunday, not for long, maybe 8 minutes, sometimes less. He would say, "Hey Dad, just checking on you," and I would say, "I'm fine." Then I'd ask about his car, his roof, the price of gas, whether he had fixed that fence yet. I thought I was being useful. A father should be useful. That's what I believed. But I remember one call, maybe 10 years ago. I was standing in my garage, sorting old screws into coffee cans. Daniel said something about his wife being tired. He said the baby wasn't sleeping. He sounded worn down, and I said, "Well, that's what babies do." Then I told him he should put the crib farther from the door. There was a pause, not a big one, just enough for me to hear him breathe. He said, "Yeah, maybe." I went back to my screws. Funny thing is, I remembered that call for years as a normal call. It wasn't. My daughter Marcy was different. She tried longer. She sent pictures, little school photos of her boys, a Halloween costume, a missing front tooth, a drawing one of them made with my name, spelled wrong. I used to keep the pictures in the glove compartment because I told myself I would frame them later. I never did. One day she called while I was in a hardware store looking for a shower valve. I remember because an old man near me dropped a box of washers and they scattered all over the aisle. Marcy said, "Dad, can you come Saturday? Ethan's doing his little concert." I said, "This Saturday?" "Yeah." I looked at the shelf, like the shelf had the answer. I got someone coming to look at the furnace. She got quiet. Then she said, "Okay." I said, "Tell him Grandpa's proud." She said, "I will." But I didn't ask what song he was singing. That part bothers me now. I didn't ask. Back then, I thought missing one small school concert didn't matter. Children have 100 of those things. But kids don't count like adults do. They remember who looked up. My youngest, Paul, stopped calling first. I blamed his wife for it, quietly. I never said it out loud, but I carried it around. I thought she didn't like me. I thought she kept him away. Then, after my wife Linda passed, Paul came over to help clean out the bedroom closet. That was 6 years ago. We were standing in the hall with 3 trash bags and a cardboard box full of scarves. I found a small notebook tucked behind Linda's winter boots. I opened it because I thought it was grocery lists. It wasn't. It had dates written down. Daniel called. Harold talked over him. Marcy cried in the car after leaving. Paul didn't stay for dinner. Harold didn't notice. I closed the notebook fast, like it had burned my fingers. Paul saw my face. He said, "Mom wrote everything down." I said, "She shouldn't have." That was my answer. Not, "Was it true?" Not, "Did I hurt you?" Just that she shouldn't have written it. Paul looked at me then, not angry. That would have been easier. He looked tired. He said, "Dad, she was lonely even when we were all here." I remember the hallway light was off. Only the bedroom lamp was on behind us. His face was half in shadow, and I remember thinking he looked older than he should. I still didn't get it. That's the ugly part. Even with the notebook in my hand, I still wanted to defend myself. I wanted to say, I worked hard. I paid bills. I fixed cars. I showed up when there was a hospital visit, or a flat tire, or a broken water heater, and all of that was true. But it was not the whole truth. There was a Christmas, years before Linda died, when all 3 kids came with their families. I had been in the den most of the afternoon trying to fix the old record player. I could hear them laughing down the hall. Linda came to the doorway and said, "Come sit with us." I said, "In a minute." She waited. I kept turning a tiny screw with a pocket knife. She said, "They came to see you." I said, "I know," but I didn't move. When I finally came out, Paul and his wife were putting coats on the kids. Daniel was loading bags in the car. Marcy kissed my cheek and said, "Merry Christmas, Dad." I said, "Living already?" She looked at me strangely. "Dad," she said, "it's almost 9. I had missed the whole visit and still acted surprised that it ended. You don't notice people lowering their expectations of you. At first they invite you, then they remind you, then they work around you, then one day they stop making room. The turning point was not loud. It happened in a hospital waiting room. Linda had gone in for tests. Nothing serious, they said. I was sitting with one of those clipboards on my lap, filling out forms. Marcy came in with her coat still wet from snow. She kissed her mother's forehead, then sat beside me. After a while she said, "Dad, did Mom tell you about my biopsy?" I kept writing, "What biopsy?" She looked at Linda. Linda looked down at her hands. Marcy said, "It was last month. I stopped writing then. Nobody had told me." That was what I thought. Nobody had told me. I said, "Why didn't anyone call me?" Marcy didn't answer right away. Then she said very softly, "We did." I looked at her. She said, "You said you were in the middle of something and told me to call your mother. I didn't remember it. That scared me, not because I forgot. Because she didn't look surprised, she didn't look hurt anymore. She just looked done." After Linda died, the calls became shorter. Then texts, then holiday cards, then birthdays with a message sent late in the day. I would stare at the phone and get angry. I'd say, "They have time for everyone else." Maybe they did. Maybe they had learned I was not a safe place for small pain. That is what took me too long to understand. Children don't only call parents when they need help. Sometimes they call because they want to be known, and I kept trying to repair their lives instead of hearing them. Last month I found those old pictures in my glove compartment, still bent at the corners. Ethan with his missing tooth, Marcy's boys in costumes, a drawing that said, "Grandpa Harold." Behind them was a voicemail card from an old answering machine. Daniel had written on it years ago, "Dad, call me back when you can. Not urgent, not urgent." I think that was the problem. I only answered urgent. So after a while, they stopped bringing me anything small. And family is mostly small things. A story from the drive home, a child's song, a tired voice on a Sunday, a question that doesn't need fixing, a silence that needs someone to stay with it. I still have the 3 lollipops from the pharmacy. They're in my coat pocket, wrapper twisted, a little lint stuck to them. I don't know why I keep them. Maybe because they remind me that my children were once easy to reach, and I was the one who kept missing the call.